Are you a business leader or entrepreneur who enjoys drinking alcohol? If you are, I really believe today's episode of the Kirk Miller Podcast is going to be one of the most powerful, most honest, and most helpful yet. If you are someone who enjoys alcohol and still wants to be healthy, lean, strong, basically look and feel good. And you may be someone who is currently drinking alcohol, but you want a little bit more control with the alcohol. So I'm going to go through some practical tips today. If you are someone who just knows that you want to keep alcohol as a part of your life and you want to know how you can factor that into your personal, professional, and social lifestyle. But I'm also going to present to you some very thought-provoking questions on how perhaps you can control your mindset even better and handle your alcohol better if you are someone that deep down knows in your heart you want to drink a little bit less or have more control with your alcohol management. And in truth, I could probably talk for hours on this subject, and I will probably do more episodes revolving around alcohol because I've had massive struggles with this, and I don't want to make this episode about me because ultimately this is about providing value to you. But ultimately, for me to provide value to you, so much of the value I can provide now about to do with food, training, movement, alcohol, etc., comes from my experience on what I've done well in the past, what I'm doing well now, or maybe what I haven't done so well in the past. Okay, but I've had massive struggles with alcohol. I really have, and this is why I feel so passionate about this subject, because I've been someone that has, and I may have touched on this in previous episodes, but I've been someone who has drank every single week, still managed to be shredded, but it was completely destructive the way I was sort of handling my alcohol, my food, and completely destructive how I was training around trying to factor in alcohol and food. All right. And I've also been someone now, currently, this is how I live, where I still drink from time to time. You know, I still get pissed drunk from time to time, special occasions. But the difference is now I have total control of when I do or don't drink alcohol. And that for me is the ultimate power. Because I really believe on this earth right now, so many people are drinking alcohol to excess and with high frequency when deep down they don't want to. I genuinely think a lot of people who are drinking to excess and frequently are trying to escape something and are not quite as happy within themselves and about their life as what they want to be. And right, and there's no judgment on that at all, because I've been someone who has truly understands now why I was drinking to excess and with the frequency, my previous years, because I wasn't happy with myself, what I did professionally, in my relationships, and there are so many different reasons that can cause drinking to excess. Okay, so the reason I've got some specific tips and questions today, even with my notes with this episode, is I just want to protect time as much as possible, because as I said at the start of this, I really could talk about this subject for hours, because I've had my demons with alcohol. I've worked with many clients who've had demons with alcohol. So I've got my notes, and as I said, I'll probably do many more episodes on alcohol, but the title of today's session is, can you drink alcohol and still get lean? All right, the answer is yes, right? You can. Ultimately, it's a calorie. There are 7 calories per gram of alcohol, right? But the truth is this: if you are someone who wants to get lean and drink alcohol, right, you have to accept, right, that you're going to make slower progress. It's going to be a lot harder to build a great body and progress as fast as you like if you're someone who drinks frequently. And everyone has a different perception, I feel, of what is a lot of alcohol and what is a lot of frequency within your week of drinking, for example. There might be some people who think that drinking 2-3 nights a week is a lot. There might be someone who drinks maybe, twice a month is a lot. It's all perception-led. Everyone has their own expectation and their own opinion on what is too much and what is too little, what is okay and what is not okay. Okay, and there are so many reasons for this. How you've been brought up, what your parents did, the people you surround yourself with. What is the normal to you is going to be based on these type of things. All right. But yeah, you can. I've drank alcohol in some capacity every single year for, since the age of 16, 17, even when I was at Coventry City. I was still drinking, I'll probably say 2 to 3 Saturdays after a game, you know, you worked hard, you trained hard all week. Me and the lads I played football with, we'd go out on a Saturday, we'd have a drink. You know, because you felt like you've earned it, you need to let some steam off, and then you'd rest on a Sunday and you're back to business, you know, with your training. And that was very much part of the culture at that time, especially when I was at Coventry City. So, you know, I've drank pretty much from the age of 16, 17. And looking back, you know, if I didn't drink, would that have helped me possibly make it as a footballer? Absolutely. You know, because I do think in professional sport, drinking has, you know, become a lot less frequent, especially with the introduction of foreign players, etc. But yeah, I've drank pretty much every year from 16, 17, and I'm 39 now, 40 next year, all right? So, and I've still been in shape. I've still been healthy, fit, lean, strong every single year, all right? But there's been a massive difference the last sort of 3-4 years when I've had more control with that. You know, and the benefits of drinking less alcohol for me go far beyond helping you look good, all right? But what I do want to say is, you know, in response to the question of this episode is, can you drink alcohol and still get lean, right? One thing that I want to be fully transparent with, right, is yes, you can, but I would say any single person I know, right, and this is including myself, who is in phenomenal shape, right, because I don't know exactly where you are right now in your health and fitness, or exactly how you feel about your body right now in terms of like ideal body fat, ideal body weight. You know, you might be at 80% to where you want to be. You might be at 60% to where you want to be. All right. You know, but I would say any single person I know who is in phenomenal shape year to year, who has a great body. I'm on about lean, fit, strong, maybe the similar physique to myself, and there's no ego attached to that. You know, it's just I pride myself on looking a certain way for so many years. But any single person I know in great shape, right, to actually create that great body in the first place, they would have had periods of a minimum of 3 months, in my opinion, where they have drank minimal or zero alcohol to actually make a big dent in pursuit of that great body in the first place, all right? And look, you don't have to do that to get a great body. A lot of our clients who come to me to work with me and Built to Last in the team, you know, they might not have 2 to 3 months periods off alcohol, you know, to start with. That's okay, but we just manage their expectations. Go, yes, you can drink alcohol, but it will, you know, slow the process down perhaps of where you want to be, which is fine. A lot of our clients prefer doing it more sustainably over a slower period, right? Especially if they drink alcohol, all right? But from my experience, anyone with a great body has had periods just to actually create that world-class physique in the first place where they haven't drank alcohol, where their food has been even more on point, their training, their energy, their movement, right? And the reason I share that is, you know, just like with food, once you're in great shape, it's a lot easier to mold and factor in things like more alcohol, you know, relaxed food, like, oh, my Kirky specials, for example, you know, where I, you know, every single weekend I'll have a big feed or two, but I've paid my dues. It's a lot easier from a leaner state to factor in like socials, as in more booze, more food when you're leaner, because it's easy to mold. And once you work your ass off to get to that great physique, and you know the blood, sweat and tears you put in to get there, you sort of value it more, and you know you don't want to lose it. So what I'm trying to say, when you're very, very lean, if you do have a period of a few months of not drinking alcohol, and then you get that great physique, even when you start to bring maybe more alcohol back in, you've got that shape to start with. It's easier to mold, and you sort of catch yourself, you know, if you sort of your standard slip, you know, your body comp, or too much booze maybe comes back in, or maybe too much shit food comes back in. So, and I know that any great physique, like I've trained with world champion bodybuilders, I've trained with great athletes, you know, a lot of them would have had periods where they've not had alcohol. So never believe anyone on fucking social media who says, you know, they've built a truly world-class physique, getting pissed every weekend or drinking every week. They're full of shit. They're absolutely full of shit. You know, at some point, they would have had extended periods of supreme discipline where they didn't have alcohol and had minimal shit food to create that physique. But now they're in a position like myself where it's a lot easier to mold and factor these things in, especially when you have structure and discipline around that. Okay? So I suppose the short answer of that long-winded explanation, but I just want to be fully transparent in my explanation of that, is if you're someone who, if you are starting your fitness journey right now, or maybe you just want to go to that next level of your fitness journey right now, if you're someone that doesn't want to give up alcohol, that's cool, but just accept that it is going to slightly slow down your progress, right? Because there are no nutritional benefits, in my opinion, to alcohol. Even though, there are 7 calories per gram, and generally speaking, like alcohol is carbs, it's not like you're getting any performance benefits from the carbs coming from alcohol. They're empty calories. Whereas, say, for example, even if you overeat a little bit or you eat more carbs, at least you can utilize that for optimizing performance. You might be able to lift more, you have more energy to move more, etc. But alcohol has, zero benefits to performance, in my opinion, all right, as a solid food. But yeah, if you are trying to make accelerated progress with your body, cut alcohol out for a short period minimum, and just watch how much more you progress, okay? So I'm going to share some practical tips. So if you are someone listening to this, it goes like long term, you just know you are someone who wants to factor in alcohol into your health fitness regime, all right? Because ultimately, it's going to come down to calories. There's still a calorie, and I think a lot of people forget that booze is a fucking calorie. And ultimately, for you to look a certain way, as I've said in previous podcasts, it's your training, your movement out versus your energy in, your food quality, your food quantity. But people sometimes forget that even I've spoken about food quality and food quantity, alcohol is still an input of calories that you need to factor into your overall calories, your average calories, especially when you're trying to drop body fat. And a lot of people forget that, all right? So before I share some tips, I've got some questions that I want to be a little bit thought-provoking at, and I wish someone would have asked me these questions when I was struggling a little bit with alcohol. So this is a little bit back to front, how I normally do this podcast. I normally shoot the questions at the end. I have one question at the end to leave you with, but these questions I want to ask you before I share some tips, right? Because from my experience, sometimes when I've sort of positively challenged a client on these things, they don't know the answer. Like sometimes people, for me, they're just in the hamster wheel of life. They're bouncing from week to week to week to week to week. They're drinking regularly, but a lot of the time it's just habit, and they don't understand why they're actually drinking. Because I think you can drink from a proactive state and total control of you making that decision, or you can drink from a reactive state, still drinking the same amount as someone who maybe is having that as a proactive decision, but I know which one's going to make you feel worse. When you are drinking from a reactive place and as a stress coping mechanism, that drink doesn't taste as nice as when you are in total control, you've factored it into your week, and you're drinking it because you've chosen the choice to do it, and you're enjoying it as part of something social, a celebration, etc., as opposed to just doing it as part of habit. And I think when people are bouncing from week to week, especially business owners in major cities that I've worked with, they're just doing it out of habit, peer pressure. So these questions I think will help. Number one, why do you drink? If you're someone who drinks, why do you actually drink? Why do you actually drink? So maybe think in the last calendar year or longer, why do you actually drink? Do you drink because you enjoy it, the taste of it? Do you drink because it gives you more confidence? Do you drink maybe because your partner drinks? Do you drink because your friends drink? Do you drink because after a long week at work you're stressed and that is your stress coping tool? Why do you drink? I think the first port of call before we go into tips about factoring in alcohol into our lifestyle management is, why do we actually drink? And are we drinking because it is, something we genuinely want to do, or are we doing it just because that's what we've done and that's what the people around us do? All right, but why do you actually drink? Because ultimately, everything we do, as I've said many, many times before, everything we do in life, whether it's to make more money, grow a career, have a partner, have sex, you go on nice trips, is chasing a feeling. Generally, we're doing something to make us feel good, to get pleasure from it in some way, right? So why do you drink? Is it to make you feel good, or is it because you're patting something else down? So that is the first question you need to ask. Why do you actually drink? And if you are someone, maybe like myself now, if I was to ask myself that question of like, why do I drink, right? And it's far less frequent, by the way, than when I did years ago. I mean, I was brutal. I was drinking every single week, and worse, as I've said in previous podcasts. But it was pain. It was destructive led, you know. But now I drink because I want to maybe enjoy a certain experience more, or just let loose, relax. But I do it from a place of control, okay? And that would have been a completely different answer to many years ago, right? Because when you answer that question, why do you drink? If that creates a negative feeling when you answer that question, I challenge you to maybe look at, do we need to reduce it a little bit, or look at our peer group that's actually influencing why we're drinking, okay? Number 2, how often do you drink? When, where, and who with? So right now, in your week-to-week lifestyle, monthly schedule, how often do you drink? When do you drink? Where and who with? And when you answer that question, is it something that you want to continue doing? Right? Is it something you want to continue doing? Are you doing it out of habit, or because you have carefully factored that into your week with the people you love, and you love spending time with, having fun, etc., from a place of control? Or is it the opposite? I suppose that leads me on to number 3. Like the third question is, are you in total control of your decision to drink? Are you in total control of your decision to drink? This, for me, is one of the most powerful questions that we need to get total certainty with. Are you in control of your decision to drink? It's similar to food, right? You will enjoy that behavior of drinking or eating that food if you've made the conscious decision that you are going to do it because you want to do it. You're going to create enjoyment and happiness from doing that thing, rather than you doing it from a reactive behavior pattern, stress, anxiousness, you're pissed off, you're overwhelmed, tired. There's a completely different feeling when you have control of that decision, or it's from a lack of control and reactive behavior. Basically, emotional inconsistency. All right? But are you in total control of your decision to drink, or are you just doing it because you're being influenced by a feeling or the people you surround yourself with? All right? Number 4 is, do you feel good or guilty the next day when you drink? This is something that, again, in my earlier years, every single time I drank, right, because I was very much a binge drinker, and every now and then, in the right social occasion, as my friends, clients, anyone who knows me, I'm very, very good still at, being the last man standing and drinking an awful lot, believe me, right? Especially very obsessive character. A lot of my clients are very the same, especially at our events inside Built to Last. Fuck me, we're very good at getting after it, right? And often I'm the ringleader with that. So I'm the little peer pressure, little baddie on that evening. But my clients have worked hard up to that point, and we usually have a workout or two during the day, okay? But do you feel good or guilty the next day? I think it's one of the most powerful questions to ask yourself in relation to alcohol, because I would say if you are consistently feeling a little bit guilty or very guilty after a night out, or maybe a few back-to-back nights of having frequent drinks, if you're feeling guilty, for me, you are probably drinking from a negative feeling. You're probably drinking from a negative feeling if you're feeling guilty. For me, it's a sign you've lost control and you're drinking more than you want to and more frequently than you want to, all right? Whereas if you are having a drink at a social occasion or just catching up with friends, whatever it may be, or a business meeting, and you still feel great the next day, then for me, you're probably drinking from a different place and a different level of emotional control, all right? But if you're guilty, for me, it's a sign that you're drinking too much, you're surrounding yourself with the wrong people, or you're doing something deep down you don't want to do, okay? But for me, the power is, how can we get more control with our alcohol so it doesn't make us feel like shit the next day? It's a bit like my philosophy when it comes to just socialising in general. Enjoy yourself socially, but never at the expense of how you want to look physically or feel emotionally, all right? And that question will help you, identify that on a deeper level when it comes to booze. Last question before I go into the tips is, Would you like to drink alcohol less than what you currently do? Would you like to drink alcohol less than you currently do? It's a yes or no question, right? Be really, really honest with yourself, right? And I've spoken about personal responsibility before. If you are not truly where you want to be, physically, energy is not where it wants to be, your internal confidence with how you feel isn't quite where it wants to be, you know you could feel mentally sharper, you know you could look physically better, you just want to carry yourself in a more empowering way, right? Would you like to drink less what you currently do? Yes or no? If the answer is no, no problem. I say there's no judgment. We've created this podcast, and if you've got your shit together, no problem. And you're drinking, however small or big, and that's exactly what you want to do. Cool. You've probably got control. You've probably got structure in your life. You're probably happy with how you look and feel. But if you're not, and alcohol is holding you back in some way, or the amount you drink is holding you back in some way, what are you actually willing to do to drink less? Because it's all right saying, yeah, I would like to drink less, but nothing's going to change until you actually do something different from how you set your week up, your month up, how you actually handle social occasions, maybe your business meetings, but what you're actually willing to do, not could do, maybe, should do, right? That's all just talk, and it actually drains confidence when you're trying to say, I'm going to drink less, and you don't do it, but what are you going to do to change that, all right? So yeah, I just wanted to sort of share those questions because I think we need to, before we go into tips of like how can we factor in alcohol, let's get clear on how much we actually want to drink or not, and whether or not we're making the conscious decision to drink or not. Because the greatest power in life, in my opinion, is being in control of your decisions, your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions as much as possible. Of course, you know, we all have bad days. I get pissed off, stressed and all this stuff, but for me, the more days, the more weeks, the more months you can operate in total control of your decisions, whether it's to do with your food, your drink, your movement, your relationships, your business, that's where real growth happens. And that's where, you'll experience more positive emotions and happiness for sure. All right. But, right, if you are someone who likes to drink, right, however small or big, here are some tips to still help you with your progress. Okay. And these are the type of things we share with our clients, right? Because if it's something that is part of your life, part of your social calendar, it's something you like to do to relax, right? Enjoy good times, and especially when you've worked hard, you've trained hard, right? These are some practical tips and also beneath the surface, because I think there's so much generic bullshit out there when it comes to alcohol. And before I go into the tips, one particular time in my life where I really struggled with alcohol, and even though I was in shape, and this is where some of the tips I'm going to go through today might contradict some of the things you may have heard about what you should drink in terms of like drinking the drink with minimal calories, all this type of stuff. I just want to share with you, when I won a men's health competition in 2010, I remember winning that competition, and obviously I won that competition on the back of having years of pain, hating what I did professionally as a plumber, right? And then you get this golden opportunity, this beacon of hope and light where, my life can change now. I quit my job, got into coaching. I was getting all these covers with men's health, men's fitness, traveling the world with sponsors, etc. And I remember, because I didn't want to lose that, and there was a fear of going back to, the plumbing and a job I didn't like, etc. I remember saying to myself, because alcohol was a massive part of my life at that point, and my socialising, getting fucking pissed every weekend. I remember saying to myself, how can I still drink and be shredded and get all these covers? Because obviously I was known for just being fucking ripped year round, and I've never been out of shape, But I was thinking, how can I still drink and still look like that? And what I did was I started drinking more vodka because that was lower calories. All right. Lower calories. So on the surface level, it's all right going, okay, well, I don't know, vodka is, say, 70 calories for a single vodka and Diet Coke or whatever your low calorie mixer is. So I'm drinking vodka because obviously it's low calories, but the problem was I ended up drinking more of it because obviously I drink it really fast, barely touch the sides. So then I get more pissed, which, as I'll come on to in the first point, really, first couple of points, that affected my eating in a negative way. More importantly, made me feel like shit for days because I get more drunk than maybe when I was drinking beer. So, some of the things I'm going to go through today, like, they're not surface level bullshit. Because if you Google best lower calorie drinks, the information's out there. But that isn't always the most practical and best solution when you look at the bigger picture of how to manage your alcohol better, all right? But the first point I want to share is, if you're going to drink alcohol, is pick the type of alcohol you drink based on what helps you stay in control of your food choices, all right? So pick the type of alcohol which, when you drink, you control your food choices better, which for me is beer, right? And a lot of people, don't drink beer, you can't stay in shape drinking beer. When I drink beer, even if I was to drink 5, 6, 7, 8, right? I've drunk more than that, when I've been out, right? When I drink beer, I am generally in more control because it's not as high a percentage of alcohol per the volume of drink, all right? So when I drink beer, I just generally control my eating better. I just don't get as pissed, but I still get the benefits of alcohol with, relaxing and all that sort of stuff. So for me, don't just look at what is the lowest calorie drink, because sometimes the lowest calorie drinks can make you get pissed quicker, and that's going to influence your food choices. Because I'm sure if you listen to this, you will totally relate that a lot of the time, if you're trying to manage your calories, right, which is essential if you're trying to be lean and healthy, right, and lower body fat, more energy, etc., right, if you're drinking something, even if it's lower calories, but it gets you drunk, it's going to influence your eat decisions, because you all know it's when you're drinking, you crave more food, and the next day, if you're hungover, you will want to eat more shit. So for me, pick that alcohol which you can control your emotions and your food decisions better during and the next day especially. Because from my experience, most people who drink and struggle with their fat loss, it's because of the hangover the next day, feeling a bit groggy the next day, craving salt, sugars, right? And they just eat shit, right? So the damage isn't actually always the alcohol, it's the next day. And it's the cravings when you're actually drinking. Because don't forget, the more you drink, the more piss you get. Like willpower and control just fucking disintegrates. So pick that alcohol where you can pick that alcohol where you can maintain more control with your state and your decisions, especially when it comes to food, during and the next day. All right? Number 2, I suppose this sort of follows on with this. If you know you've got a big night, or you've just simply had a few drinks and you just know habitually that you tend to crave a bit more food the next day, you need to forward think and pre-plan the food you'll pick the next day and the people and the places you're going to be with the next day, right? And this is how we magnify things in Built to Last, right? Because I've said before, we all have people and places which influence our eating decisions, right, for the worse. And we also have people in our life that maybe influence our eating decisions for the better, all right? Generally, if you surround yourself with healthier people, you're probably going to make better choices. If you surround yourself with people who are unhealthy, you're going to make poorer choices. So what I would say is, if you are having a night out and you're drinking a fair bit, or even if you're having a few drinks, and you know what's coming, the next day, the craving's going to be there, think about who you're surrounding yourself with and what you're going to eat. Right, so for me, if you know you've got a big night and you're trying to box smart your calories, etc., forward think, what am I going to eat the next day when I know my willpower might be a little bit lower? All right, are the people, the places I'm going to negatively impact my eating decisions if I'm feeling a bit groggy or if I've drank a bit more the night before? All right, and how can I forward plan and pick smart with my food, perhaps? All right, especially when you're at home. If you know you've got a big night, you've had a few drinks, right, just make sure the next day that when cravings for shit food are high, your cupboards aren't stocked with hyperpalatable foods that, your danger foods, for example, where you just, when you have that thing, you eat more of it, or it's high calorie per, low food volume, such as loads of added sugar, processed shit, because that's what we all crave deep down. Most people who are struggling with their weight are overeating processed food, sugar, right? It's as black and white as that. You'll never really see someone who's really overweight, who doesn't eat lots of processed food or added sugar, right? Because it's just so easy to eat lots of this food without even barely touching the sides, and it doesn't even fill you up. So pre-plan, forward think your food the next day and the people and places you'll be with the next day. Number 3, if you don't want to booze as much or get too drunk, make sure you eat a high quality carb and protein focused meal either before or during the actual social event. It will just fill you up more and it'll prevent you from drinking as much. I know there's been some occasions where I might have intended to have a decent drink and then I've had a really high carb, high protein focused meal, and I was just simply full and I didn't want to drink as much, okay? It's a really clever thing to do, especially before going out solely for just drinks. If you've had a decent meal prior, I just think for me, it just slows you down a little bit. So just a really simple tactic is to do that and make sure it's high quality real food. Because when you eat high quality real food of protein and carbs, again, one, it's going to stop you from overeating first and foremost, but it'll just keep you fuller. Because I say the more protein you eat, again, you just generally manage your food intake better, and certainly alcohol, okay? Number 4 is when you are actually drinking, avoid empty high-calorie drinks. More specifically for me, cocktails. I think cocktails for me are the worst when it comes to quantity of calories and in particular added sugar, within a given drink. I love an espresso martini from time to time, but I don't touch cocktails. I think they're the worst. Added sugar, you drink them very fast. Of course, they can get you very pissed too, very, very drunk. But yeah, cocktails for me are criminal. They'll accumulate calories rapidly, and I think you're more likely through drinking that also to overeat during and definitely post, just because of the concoction generally. And we all know with sugar, of course, even with food, but especially with drink, once you get a taste for it, you just want more and more of it. And for me, they're the ultimate form of empty, high-calorie drink. So try and avoid cocktails for sure. And then if you're trying to box smart when you're actually you're maybe out at a social occasion, if you know that you're going to a certain social occasion and you are intending to drink a fair bit, maybe you're catching up with friends you haven't seen in a long time, or it's a special birthday, and you're going to be drinking more. Effectively, I talk about this a lot with clients. Pick your poison. Pick your poison that night. Because I think when you have a big drink at a social occasion, it is so easy to fucking down tools and go, right, I'm having a big drink. I'm going to have a massive starter. I'm going to have a massive main. I'm going to eat what I want, and then I'm going to have a dessert. You can undo fucking weeks and weeks of good work by doing that. And unfortunately, right, contrary to some of the bullshit you might see on social media, unless you are very, very close to where you want to be, or you are currently in fantastic shape and you want to stay there, if you're nowhere near that, you thinking you're going to drink what you want, eat what you want, and move anywhere fast in pursuit of that great body and health you want is fucking delusional, all right? So I think if you're out, pick your poison. If you know you're going to drink more, eat less carbs. Eat less carbs, because ultimately alcohol is carbs. So what I would do is if I know I was going to have a big drink and I was actually at a meal as well, and I was trying to be clever with my calories, and I know I was going to drink a lot, I would simply make sure I had a high protein meal, plenty of veggies, salad, and I'd minimize carbs, probably have a small amount of fats, alongside the protein, but just definitely less carbs if you know you're going to drink more, all right? And you're really being clever with your calories, okay? Number 6, really simple, I'm sure you've heard this before, but I'll just reiterate it, is drink water during and more importantly afterwards to rehydrate. Again, this is probably a subject in itself, but when you drink water during drinking alcohol, and I'm not always fantastic at this myself, especially if I'm out, but as a whole, when you're drinking water alongside alcohol, it'll just help slow the process, or more importantly, distribute the effects of alcohol over a longer period of time. So definitely make sure you're drinking water during and then post afterwards. I know, whenever I've had some drinks and then I've made sure I've had plenty of water before I went to bed, for example, you just wake up in a much better place, definitely with no headache, depending on what you drink, of course. But it just helps keeps you hydrated also, and also as well when you're drinking water alongside alcohol, again it could just slow down probably how fast you drink, and more importantly how much you drink. Okay, and another danger of that is if you're not drinking water and then you wake up dehydrated, you can crave even more food and crave more shit, and you can actually think you're more hungry than what you are when in actual fact you're dehydrated. All right, number 7. I suppose this ties into what I've just said, really. The more calories you intend to drink, the less you could and probably should consider starters and desserts. All right. I just think, as I've said, a minute or two ago, for me, if you've got a heavy social calendar, like so many of my clients have, one thing we like really hammer down our clients' throats is, if you socialise regularly and you're going to have a meal or two a week minimum, right, of relaxed food or not on plan, so to speak, and you want to factor in some drinks too, part starters and desserts. Unless those starters are lean, protein focused, get rid of them, and definitely desserts. You can eat a dessert in fucking 60 to 120 seconds and not even register the calories going in. I've been fascinated with this, that you're at a social occasion and people are just fucking eating stuff. They're not even registering or actually enjoying the taste of that food as it's going in their mouth. I might have spoke about this before, especially when, alcohol's involved. I think the moment you've had 2 or 3 drinks and you've got people around you, catching up with people, conversation, a lot of the time people are, really, hammering the dessert down their mouth, but they're not even registering the calories, not even registering the enjoyment. And ultimately, food, it's there to be enjoyed, especially at a social occasion. So for me, unless you are really close to where you want to be, fucking just, and you want to drink, you want to socialise, have a main meal, right, as healthy as you possibly can without compromising your enjoyment. Have your drinks, park starters and desserts, unless it's a lean protein focused starter. Last 3 now, this one's quite blunt. If you're someone who wants to drink alcohol and get lean, make sure you fucking earn it, right? Make sure your training, your movement, the quality and quantity of your calorie management before any social occasion where you're going to be drinking a few drinks or a lot of drinks, you fucking earn it. It's as simple as that. Because your body composition, week to week, does not lie. If you are someone who socialises regularly, right, with your family, your partner, your friends, business colleagues, and you don't look like you want to, and you are wondering why, right? Even if you train or you think you're eating healthy, you probably don't train as hard as what you think you do or could do. You probably don't move as regularly or as frequently as what maybe you should be doing. And you probably don't eat as healthy or manipulate your calories smart enough pre and post social event, because your body doesn't lie. Over a period of months, your body weight, shape, okay, and how you feel about your body does not lie when you look in the mirror, all right? It's going to be down to your inputs, all right? And I know for me, if I have a big social occasion coming up, like I recently had my birthday, I knew it was one of those weekends of the year, similar to when you have a wedding, for example, where you're eating a lot of rich food and more drinks. If I have that coming up, I make sure I earn it. My food, my training, my hydration, my sleep is on point pre and post, because I want to feel good at that social occasion, with my birthday, whatever it may be. Ultimately, and I'll fucking challenge anyone on this. Every single person, given the choice, wants to feel fantastic in their clothes, right, when they're out socially. The drink tastes nicer when you feel good about yourself and your body, right? You show up with more confidence, right? You show up as the best version of you. You're not going to do that if you haven't earned your crust and earned your stripes, at these social occasions. Trust me, the food, the booze tastes sweeter when you're in fantastic shape. Number 9. Now I sort of cover these a little bit in some of the other points, but more specifically, right, if your goal is to get lean, which is the title of this episode, and I'm sure if you follow me, one of your goals is to be leaner than what you currently are, you must include alcohol in your weekly calories total and manipulate your calories according to your goal. It's fucking calories, I've said. The one, I say positive with drinking alcohol, generally speaking, when you're having drinks, you're generally moving around more. You're obviously probably burning more calories while you're actually doing that behavior of drinking, but ultimately it's still calories. A lot of people may track their food via MyFitnessPal, a lot of our clients do, for example, but they forget to track their alcohol. It's still calories. And ultimately, as I've said many, many times before, probably bored you to death with this, if you're trying to get leaner, it's energy in versus energy out, right? So make sure you're factoring in your alcohol and your weekly calories, and you're manipulating your calories according to your goal. So whatever your calorie threshold is, whether it's 2,000, 1,800, 2,500 or more, in pursuit of your goals, make sure you're factoring your alcohol into those calories. And I would go as far as saying, if you think you are going to get away with, 20, 30% of your calories coming from alcohol and you getting lean anytime fast, you are absolutely deluded, okay? It should make up a fraction of your calories because, as I said at the start of this, it has no benefit, right, to your body in terms of performance and in pursuit of your fat loss goals. Number 10, lastly, is don't fold to peer pressure. So many people on this earth drink the amount they do and as frequently as they do because they're influenced by peer pressure, the people they surround themselves with, whether it's their partner, friends, colleagues, right? Don't fold to peer pressure. If you don't want to drink, be direct. Tell whoever the person concerned is who's trying to influence you. If you don't want to do it, tell them you don't want to drink. And a question I would sort of counteract that with, if someone's trying to put pressure on me, if I didn't want to drink, is, can I just ask, why does it bother you that I'm not drinking? How will it affect how you feel by me not drinking? And then ask them, why do they drink? Why do you want to drink, right? And if it's for them to feel good and enjoy that occasion, no problem, that's cool. But ask them, how and why does it bother you if I'm not drinking? What difference will it make, right? Because what you find is, especially if you're a high performer, right? And you would probably have had this in your business growth or career growth. As you start to grow and you progress, you will get people who will try and pull you back without question. Especially if you've surrounded yourself with certain people, certain colleagues, certain friends. When you grow, it can make other people around you uncomfortable sometimes, especially if they know they're underperforming or they want to go to that next level with their business, with their body, whatever it is, but they're not willing to do the work, and go that extra mile. So when you are trying to get more control with your booze, for example, or drink a little bit less, just be direct. All right, the right people in your life should not give a fuck if you don't drink as much. They shouldn't care, and that is, I suppose, one of the overriding messages I'm trying to get from this episode is, make sure if you are drinking, it's because you want to, and you've made the conscious decision to enjoy alcohol because you've factored that into your weekly schedule because you've earned it, and you are doing it because it's adding enjoyment and fulfillment and a benefit to your life, not a negative. All right, so make sure you are controlling the decision, and just flip the question back on them. And then finally, even though I've covered some questions at the start, I just wanted to sort of end with a sort of thought-provoking question, and it's something that we ask our clients. For example, if they were ever stuck with their progress, ask yourself this: is my current frequency and volume of alcohol I drink helping me or holding me back from the health, the body, and energy I wish to live with? So is my current frequency and volume of alcohol I drink helping me or holding me back from the body, the health, and the energy I wish to live with? It's a yes or no question. It's a yes or no question. And if the answer to that question is no, what are you willing to do about it to change it? Because it's all right listening to this podcast, okay? If you're not going to do anything as a follow-up action step, nothing's going to change. We can listen, but if we know in our heart that we're drinking a little bit more than what we want to, or frequently, and it's holding us back in pursuit of our health and our energy and our long-term longevity, what are we actually willing to do to change it? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. You need to surround yourself with certain different people. Do you need to join a certain peer group? Do you need to simply be more disciplined? Do you need to plan? Do you need to schedule your week a bit better so you're not in reactive behavior states? Because I actually think there's patterns from my experience of a lot of business owners or people who are in a high pressure career position. Generally speaking, it's after work, definitely towards the end of the week. On your Thursday, Friday nights, definitely Friday nights, and definitely weekends, where it's that fuck it mentality. I've worked hard, stress is high. We all know when stress is high, emotional intelligence is low, and that's when we make reactive decisions. And that's when most people drink to excess or more frequently than what they want to. So I suppose, make sure, just to conclude this podcast, is that you are controlling the decision to drink or not drink, all right? And if you're not where you want to be, how can you drink less? What are you willing to do to drink less? all right? Or maybe handle your booze better based on the tips I've said today, all right? Because the final quote I'm going to leave you with is, in every single thing you do, you are choosing a direction. Your life is a product of your choices, right? In every single thing you do, you are choosing a direction, and your life is a product of your choices, right? Our life isn't a product of what we say we're going to do or what we think we should do. It's down to our choices that are guiding us in the direction of where we want to be or not be, all right? So let's really evaluate, right? Are our choices, especially when it comes to alcohol, moving us forward to where we want to be or not, okay? But it's our responsibility to change that, okay? And again, there's no judgment on anything I've said today, and I definitely will do some more episodes on this because I've been someone who's been shredded and lacked emotional control, drank way too much, and was doing it purely out of habit, environment, and just because I wasn't happy in certain areas of my life. And I now do it. If I do it every single time I drink now, okay, and this is what we want to get total control with our clients too, is whether I'm having 2 drinks with my partner or friends, or I'm having a big night out, I'm doing it because I've chosen the decision to do so. So even, for example, if I know I've got a massive night coming up, for example, my birthday, I knew, and this comes down to managing expectation, I knew I was going to have 3 nights, 3 days/nights, right? Because I had a couple of my friends come over where I knew I was going to have a big one, right? I was letting loose, but I've been working my ass off relentlessly all year. I'm in fantastic shape. I'm disciplined. I look after my health, okay? Right, I'm in a good spot. I pay my dues. I knew I was going to, get very, very drunk, pretty much 3 days on the bounce, which I rarely do now. That might happen a couple of times a year, right? And I knew I was probably going to be hungover, a little bit groggy, but because I'd managed the expectation and more importantly, mentally dealt with the feeling and that little bit of tiredness that I knew was coming, because I've matched my expectation, didn't make me feel guilty. Do you know what I mean? Because I got straight back to business back in the gym the next week anyway, all right? But that is the most powerful thing, whether your thing is, a drink or relaxed food, the more control you can have over the decisions and you actually manage your expectations and forward think, right, and anticipate the feelings, the cravings, and more importantly, handle the aftermath of how you're going to feel in, after certain social occasions. That for me is what high performers do. They forward think before, during, and after, and they're in total control of the decisions, okay? And that's that. So I'd love to hear your biggest takeaways. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me on this subject. And thank you so much for listening. I'll see you next time.